The ultimatum. The sky above New York City split open with purple light. People stopped walking. Cars halted in the streets. Everyone looked up as a massive shadow covered the sun. The alien warship was enormous, bigger than any city, darker than midnight, and covered with strange glowing symbols. Then every screen on Earth turned white. Televisions, phones, computers, even the giant displays in Times Square, all showed the same image. A creature appeared. It stood tall with gray metallic skin and 4 arms. Its eyes glowed red like burning coals. The translator made its voice sound cold and emotionless. I am Commander Zarthax of the Crithian Empire. Your planet is now ours. You have 48 hours to surrender. Refuse, and we will destroy every city, every human, everything you built. Comply, and we may let some of you live as servants. The message ended. The screens went dark. Then the panic began. People screamed and ran. Parents grabbed their children. Sirens wailed across every continent. The world had just learned a terrible truth. They were not alone in the universe, and the neighbors were not friendly. In the United Nations building, world leaders gathered in the emergency chamber. Presidents, prime ministers, generals all looked terrified. The American president spoke first, his voice shaking. Do we have any weapons that can fight that ship? A military general shook her head. Our missiles would be like throwing rocks at a tank. That ship has technology centuries ahead of ours. Then we surrender, asked the Chinese premier. We give up our freedom to save lives. We fight, shouted the Russian defense minister. Humans do not bow to threats. The room erupted in arguments. Some wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to fight even if it meant death. Fear and anger filled the air like smoke. Then the British representative stood up. Her name was Director Sarah Okonkwo, and she worked for a department most leaders had never heard of. She was calm, too calm for someone facing the end of the world. Gentlemen, ladies, she said quietly, there is another option. Everyone turned to look at her. 50 years ago, she continued, we detected alien radio signals from deep space. We decoded them. We learned that hostile empires controlled much of the galaxy. So we prepared. The American president leaned forward. Prepared how? Project Black Armada, Sarah said. For 5 decades, every nation secretly contributed resources. We built a fleet. We trained crews. We developed weapons, all hidden beyond Neptune where no one would look. Silence filled the room. You're saying, we have a space navy? The French president asked. Yes, and it's been waiting for this exact moment. 20 billion kilometers from Earth. In the frozen darkness beyond Neptune, something awakened. Admiral James Chen floated in the command center of the flagship Defiance. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years of his life preparing for a war he hoped would never come. His communication officer called out, Admiral, encrypted message from Earth. Protocol Nightfall. Chen closed his eyes. Protocol Nightfall. The code they dreaded. It meant Earth was under direct threat. Sound battle stations, he said calmly. Wake the fleet. All around him, lights began turning on. Ship after ship powered up from decades of silent waiting. The crews, men and women from every nation on Earth, moved to their positions. They had trained for this. They were ready. Chen walked to the main viewport and watched as 300 warships lit up the darkness. They were painted black, designed to be invisible in space. Each ship carried weapons that Earth's best scientists had spent 50 years perfecting. Railguns that fired at impossible speeds, plasma torpedoes, quantum missiles. Technology built from studying those alien signals and improving on them. The fleet's chief engineer, a woman named Maria Santos, approached Chen. All ships report ready, Admiral. We can reach Earth in 30 hours, Chen nodded. Then we move now. Maximum stealth protocol. I want to be Earth's surprise, not the enemy's target. Sir, Maria asked quietly, do you think we can win? Chen looked at the black fleet before him. Ships crewed by volunteers who left their families, their lives, everything, to protect a planet they might never see again. The Empire thinks Earth is defenseless, Chen said. They think we're primitives with simple rockets and chemical weapons. They don't know we've been listening, learning, and building. He turned to face his crew. They're about to learn why you never underestimate humanity. The Black Armada began moving through the darkness. 300 silent shadows heading toward home. Back on Earth, the countdown continued. 42 hours remained. Commander Zarthax sat in his command throne, pleased. Another world would fall without a fight. It always happened this way. Show overwhelming power, give an impossible deadline, and watch them surrender. He had no idea that Earth's silence wasn't fear. It was preparation. The Empire's mistake commander Zarthax studied the holographic display of Earth with satisfaction. The blue planet rotated slowly before him, completely unaware of its fate. His war fleet, 200 Crithian warships, moved into position around the moon. "Status report," he commanded. His second officer, a younger Crithian named Velthor, checked the sensors. "We have detected 300 satellites orbiting the planet. Primitive communication devices and simple observation tools. No weapons detected." Zarthax laughed, a sound like scraping metal. "Just like the intelligence reports promised. These humans are children playing with toys. This will be easier than conquering the Marfians. At least they had energy shields." 36 hours remained until the deadline, Commander. Velthor reported. "Good. Let them suffer in fear a little longer. Then we take everything." What Zarthax didn't know was that those satellites were watching him too, and they were sending every detail back to Earth. In the underground command bunker beneath Geneva, Director Sarah Okonkwo watched the alien fleet on multiple screens. Military leaders from every nation surrounded her, their faces tense. "They're positioning for orbital bombardment," the American general said. "Classic siege formation. They'll hit our major cities first." "Let them think that," Sarah replied calmly. She pressed a button on her console. "Activate the Ghost Protocol." High above Earth, those 300 satellites suddenly exploded. Not from enemy fire, they detonated themselves. Pieces of metal and circuits scattered across orbit, creating debris fields. On the Crithian flagship, alarms suddenly blared. "Commander," Velthor shouted. "The human satellites just self-destructed." Zarthax frowned. Why would they destroy their own equipment? Perhaps panic? Fear makes primitives do strange things. But Zarthax felt something was wrong. In 47 conquered systems, he had never seen defenders destroy their own infrastructure. "Increase sensor sweeps. Full spectrum. I want to know everything happening in this system." Near Jupiter, the gas giant's massive storm swirled peacefully, or so it appeared. Hidden within the planet's magnetic field, 12 human destroyers had been waiting in complete silence. Their black hulls made them invisible against space. Their crews hadn't spoken in hours, maintaining absolute stealth. Captain Rodriguez commanded the destroyer Shadow Strike. She was 42 from Mexico and had been in space for 6 years. Her daughter was somewhere on Earth, probably terrified. That thought made Rodriguez angry. Good, she needed that anger. "Captain," her sensor officer whispered. "Enemy scouts approaching Jupiter. 3 light cruisers." Rodriguez smiled coldly. "Perfect. All ships decloak on my mark. Show these invaders what humans learned from Earth's oceans." The Crithian scouts drifted past Jupiter, scanning for threats. Their commander was bored. This system seemed empty, except for the primitive planet. Then space itself seemed to ripple. 12 human destroyers appeared from nowhere, surrounding the scouts like sharks circling prey. The alien ships barely had time to react before humanity struck. Railguns fired. Solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. No lasers to see coming, no energy signatures to detect. Just pure kinetic death. The first Crithian scout exploded, torn apart by impacts. The second scout tried to run. Human plasma torpedoes, superheated matter contained in magnetic fields, struck its engines. The ship spun out of control. The third scout managed to fire back, but human ships moved like fighters, not the slow capital ships the Crithians expected. They dodged, weaved, and returned fire with precision. In 90 seconds, the brief battle was over. 3 alien ships destroyed. 0 human casualties. Captain Rodriguez opened a channel. "Send the recordings to their flagship. Let them see what happened. Then we disappear again." The human destroyers vanished back into Jupiter's interference, ghosts in the darkness. On the Crithian flagship, Zarthax watched the battle recording 3 times. His 4 hands clenched in rage and something else, concern. "Those ships," he said slowly, "they use kinetic weapons, primitive but effective, and their maneuverability. Perhaps we underestimated their technology. Velthor suggested carefully. Impossible. Zarthak slammed his fist down. The intelligence said they barely reached their own moon 50 years ago. This must be their entire fleet, a desperate final defense. Should we proceed with caution, Commander? Zarthak stood tall. Send orders to the main battle fleet. 200 ships will crush these humans. We advance to Earth orbit immediately. Any ship that resists will be vaporized. The Crythian Armada began moving, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They didn't notice the darkness beyond Neptune beginning to move. In the Defiance Command Center, Admiral Chen watched the enemy fleet advance on the tactical display. His Black Armada was now only 12 hours from Earth, moving in complete stealth. They took the bait, Maria Santos reported. The Jupiter skirmish made them angry. They're rushing in. Good, Chen said. Angry enemies make mistakes. Helm, increase speed to maximum. I want to arrive before they reach Earth's orbit. Admiral, his tactical officer called out. Enemy fleet composition confirmed. 200 warships. We have 300 ships, but theirs are larger. Chen smiled slightly. Bigger isn't always better. They fight like an empire, used to easy victories, overwhelming force, enemies that surrender. We fight like humans, survivors who learned warfare from 10,000 years of our own battles. He addressed the entire fleet over the command channel. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. In 6 hours we enter combat. The enemy expects frightened primitives. Show them humans. Show them what happens when you threaten our home. Show them the Black Armada. 300 voices responded as one. For Earth. Commander Zarthax reached Earth's orbit 24 hours before the deadline. He wanted to begin the bombardment early to punish these humans for resisting. Target their largest cities, he ordered. Prepare main weapons, Commander, Velthor said nervously, checking his sensors. I'm detecting unusual readings. Space itself seems different, like something is interfering with our scanners. Malfunction. These primitive systems probably produce electromagnetic interference. But Velthor's eyes widened. Sir, something is appearing. Multiple contacts, dozens. No, hundreds. Space around Earth began to shimmer, and then, like nightmares emerging from darkness itself, the Black Armada decloaked. 300 warships, black as the void, surrounded the Crythian fleet. Every weapon was armed. Every crew was ready. Admiral Chen's voice broadcast across all frequencies in perfect Crythian language. You came to our home. Big mistake. Commander Zarthak stared in disbelief at the impossible sight before him. For the first time in his 40 years of conquest, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. The Black Armada strikes Commander Zarthax could not believe what his senses showed. 300 human warships surrounded his fleet like a closing fist. Ships that should not exist. Technology that primitives should not possess. How? He whispered. How did they build this? His second officer Velthor's voice shook. Commander, their weapons are locked onto us. Every single ship. We're surrounded. Zarthax felt his pride burn away his fear. He had conquered 47 worlds. He commanded the mighty Crythian Empire's finest fleet. He would not be intimidated by these humans' battle formation. He roared, all ships, fire at will. Show these creatures the power of the Empire. 200 Crythian warships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, bright enough to light up Earth's night sky. Missiles streaked toward human vessels. The Empire's most powerful weapons unleashed destruction, and the Black Armada danced through it all. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Chen watched the enemy fire with calm eyes. Evasive pattern Delta. All ships execute. The human fleet moved like a school of fish, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. They had trained for 30 years for this moment. Every pilot, every crew, every captain knew their role perfectly. The Crythian energy beams struck empty space where human ships had been milliseconds before. Their missiles chased targets that seemed to predict every move. Return fire, Chen ordered quietly. Show them precision. The Black Armada struck back. Human railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. No bright beams to give away position. No heat signatures to track. Just silent, deadly metal moving faster than sound. The slugs punched through Crythian shields like paper and tore through hulls. Plasma torpedoes followed, superheated matter that burned at temperatures hotter than the sun's surface. When they hit, enemy ships didn't just break apart. They melted. A Crithian destroyer exploded, splitting in half. Another lost power, drifting helplessly. A third tried to retreat, but human fighters swarmed it like angry bees. Enemy shields are stronger than expected, Maria Santos reported. But their ships are slow. They rely on shields, not maneuverability. Chen nodded. They fight like they always fight, standing still and taking hits. We fight like humans. We move, adapt, survive, continue the pattern. In the cockpit of her fighter, Lieutenant Sarah Kim from South Korea pulled hard on the controls. Her small craft spun between two Crithian cruisers, drawing their fire. Behind her, 5 more human fighters followed in perfect formation. Wolfpack 3, break on my mark, she called to her squadron. 3, 2, 1, break. The 6 fighters scattered in different directions. The 2 alien cruisers kept firing, but now they were shooting at each other. Their targeting systems confused by the sudden movement. Sarah looped around and fired her missiles at the cruiser's engine section, the weak point her tactical computer identified. 2 direct hits. The engine exploded, and the massive ship began spinning out of control. Splash 1 cruiser, she reported, grinning despite her pounding heart. Wolfpack 3, regroup and find the next target. Her wingman, a pilot from Brazil named Carlos, laughed over the radio. These Empire ships are big and strong, but they turn like frozen whales. Our grandmothers could dodge better. Sarah smiled, but then her warning system screamed. A Crithian fighter wing had found them, 20 enemy craft against her 6. All wolves, defensive spiral. Use the debris field for cover. The human fighters dove toward the wreckage of destroyed ships, weaving between twisted metal and burning debris. The Crithian fighters followed, but couldn't match the tight turns. 3 crashed into debris. 5 more lost their targets in the chaos. Human pilots had trained in simulators that recreated Earth's greatest fighter aces. Skills passed down from World War pilots, from Top Gun graduates, from every nation's best. They flew with instinct and courage that no AI could match. Carter, Sarah shouted to her newest pilot. On your 6, break left. The young pilot from Canada reacted instantly, dodging the enemy fire. His fighter spiraled around and locked onto his pursuer. 1 shot. The Crithian fighter exploded. Thanks, Lieutenant. Carter's voice shook with adrenaline and fear. Stay focused, Sarah commanded. This fight isn't over. On the Crithian flagship, chaos ruled the command center. Alarms blared from every station. Damage reports flooded in faster than officers could read them. 17 ships destroyed. Veltho reported, his voice cracking. 34 more damaged. Commander, we're losing. Zarthak stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His fleet, the pride of the Empire, was being torn apart. The human ships moved with impossible coordination. Their weapons struck with surgical precision. Every time his forces tried to form a defensive position, the humans attacked from a different angle. Impossible, he muttered. They're primitives. They discovered space travel only decades ago. This cannot be happening. A massive explosion rocked the flagship as a plasma torpedo struck the shields. The lights flickered. Shields at 40%. An officer screamed. Zarthax made a decision he had never made before in his life. Order the fleet to retreat. Fall back to... Sir! Velthor interrupted. The Emperor's fury is requesting assistance. They're surrounded by 30 human ships. On the screen, Zarthax watched as the Empire's largest dreadnought, a ship that had destroyed entire planetary defense grids alone, was swarmed by human vessels. They attacked like piranhas, each strike targeting a different system. Communications, weapons, engines, shields. The mighty dreadnought fired desperately in all directions, but the human ships were too fast, too coordinated. One by one, the dreadnought systems failed. Its weapons went silent. Its engines stopped. The great ship drifted, powerless and defeated. This is impossible, Zarthax whispered. We are the Empire. We do not lose. But losing was exactly what they were doing. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold on his displays. His fleet had taken damage. 7 ships destroyed, 23 damaged. But they were winning. The enemy was breaking. Admiral, his communication officer reported, we're intercepting enemy transmissions. They're trying to retreat. Let the damaged ships go, Chen ordered. But their command carrier stays here. We need to send a message they'll never forget. He opened a channel to all human ships. All vessels, focus fire on the enemy flagship. Disable it. Do not destroy it. I want survivors. 50 human warships turned towards Zarthax's command carrier. Railguns fired at the engines. Plasma torpedoes disabled weapons. Quantum missiles scrambled the ship's systems with electromagnetic pulses. The Crithian flagship, which had brought terror to 47 worlds, drifted helplessly in space. "Sir," Maria Santos said quietly, "we've won the battle. Earth is safe." Chen nodded slowly, but his face remained serious. "This battle, yes, but the war..." He looked at Earth, beautiful and blue in the viewport. "The war is just beginning. The Empire will learn what happened here. Other species will learn too." He stood and straightened his uniform. "Prepare boarding teams. We're going to meet Commander Zarthax face to face. It's time humans introduce themselves properly to the galaxy." In the wreckage-filled space around Earth, the surviving Crithian ships fled into deep space, carrying tales of the impossible defeat. The Empire's unstoppable fleet had been shattered by a species they thought was weak. Earth's moon reflected sunlight onto the victorious Black Armada. 300 dark ships standing guard over their home. On every ship, crews embraced and cried with relief. They had done it. Earth was safe. But in the darkness of space, watching from beyond sensor range, other alien eyes witnessed the battle. Representatives from a dozen species that lived under the Empire's rule. They had watched Earth's deadline with sadness. Expecting another world to fall, instead, they witnessed something else. Hope, Earth's message, the airlock of the Crithian flagship, hissed open. Smoke drifted out into space, carrying the smell of burned circuits and defeat. Admiral James Chen stepped through, followed by 20 human marines in black combat armor. Their boots clanged against the metal floor as they moved through the damaged corridors. Sparks fell from broken panels. Emergency lights flickered red. Crithian crew members pressed themselves against walls, their forearms raised in surrender. Their eyes, once filled with arrogance, now showed only fear. They had never lost before. They had never been boarded by an enemy force. "Take us to your commander," Chen said calmly. The aliens led them to the command center. The doors opened, revealing Commander Zarthax sitting in his throne, surrounded by broken displays and defeated officers. His gray skin looked darker in the emergency lighting. His red eyes stared at the humans with a mixture of rage and shock. "You," Zarthax said slowly, "you should not exist. Your species was barely crawling out of your gravity well 50 years ago. This fleet, these weapons, impossible." Chen walked forward until he stood directly before the alien commander. Despite being shorter, the human admiral somehow seemed larger, stronger. "Impossible," Chen said quietly. "Commander, let me tell you what's impossible. Impossible is surviving ice ages with nothing but fire. Impossible is crossing oceans on wooden ships. Impossible is going from first flight to landing on the moon in 66 years. Humanity has been doing the impossible since we learned to stand upright." He pulled out a small data device and placed it on the command console. 50 years ago, we detected your Empire's signals. We listened to your conquests. We heard 47 worlds fall. We knew you were coming." Chen's voice grew harder. "So we prepared. Every nation on Earth, enemies, rivals, friends, all worked together. We built this fleet in secret. We developed weapons you didn't expect. We trained for a war we hoped would never come." Zarthax laughed bitterly. "So you won one battle. The Empire has thousands of fleets, millions of warriors. You cannot fight us all." "You're right," Chen admitted. "If the Empire throws everything at Earth, we'll eventually fall. But here's what you need to understand. We'll make it cost you. Every ship you send will destroy 2. Every soldier will take 3. We'll fight in space, in our atmosphere, in our cities, in our tunnels. We'll fight until our last breath because this is our home." He activated the data device. Holographic images appeared, recordings of the battle. Human ships defeating Crithian vessels, the mighty dreadnought disabled, the fleet retreating. "This device contains everything that happened here," Chen continued. "Battle records, tactical data, proof that the Empire can be defeated. You're going to take this back to your High Council." "They'll never believe it," Velthor whispered from the side. "They'll believe it," Chen said. Because you're going to show them. We're letting you go, Commander. All of you. We're not monsters who execute prisoners. We're sending you home with a message. Zarthak stood slowly, confused. You're releasing us, why? Chen stepped closer, his eyes locked on the alien commanders. Because Earth is not your prey. We are nobody's servants. We will never bow to the Empire, but we're also not conquerors. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to live in peace. He gestured to the Marines who lowered their weapons. Go home, Commander Zarthax. Tell your Empire what happened when they demanded Earth's surrender. Tell them about the Black Armada. Tell them that humanity is watching and we're ready. If you attack peaceful worlds, we'll know. If you threaten the weak, we'll come. Earth stands as a guardian now, not a victim. 3 days later, the battered Crithian fleet limped back into Empire space. Commander Zarthax stood before the High Council, 12 ancient Crithians who ruled quadrillions of beings across hundreds of star systems. The lead counselor, Supreme Elder Krathvon, watched the battle recordings in silence. His expression remained neutral, but his hands clenched tighter with each scene. When the recordings ended, silence filled the chamber. Impossible, another counselor whispered. But it happened, Zarthax said quietly. They defeated us completely. Our finest fleet, our best weapons, all useless against them. Then we send more fleets, a militant counselor suggested. 10 times the ships. 100 times. Supreme Elder Krathvon raised one hand for silence. He was ancient, his skin wrinkled and pale. He had ruled for 200 years and conquered 1,000 worlds. But now for the first time he looked uncertain. No, he said slowly. We do not attack Earth again. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Supreme Elder, the militant counselor protested. We cannot show weakness. If other species learn we retreated, they already know, Krathvon interrupted. This Admiral Chen, he sent these recordings not just to us. Look, he activated another display. News reports from dozens of alien species appeared. The battle footage was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Every conquered world, every oppressed species, every being living under the Empire's rule was watching humans fight back successfully. They're calling it the Battle of Terror, Krathvon said quietly. Subjects we've ruled for centuries are suddenly talking about resistance, about hope, about following Earth's example. He turned to the Council. If we attack Earth again and lose, even if we eventually win through overwhelming numbers, it will cost us everything. Other worlds will rebel. Our empire will crumble. These humans have done something no enemy has done before. They've given our subjects hope. So we do nothing. Zarthax asked bitterly. We leave Earth alone, Krathvon decided. We mark their system as neutral territory, and we watch. Perhaps in time these humans will destroy themselves. Perhaps they'll grow weak. But today, we cannot afford another defeat. Commander Zarthax bowed and left the chamber. His pride shattered but his life spared. Behind closed doors, Supreme Elder Krathvon looked at the image of Earth. That small blue world that had humiliated the Empire. For the first time in 200 years, he felt something he had forgotten. Doubt. 6 months passed. Earth's sky was clear and blue. Cities rebuilt what little damage they had suffered. People returned to normal lives, going to work, raising children, laughing with friends. But now they looked up at the stars differently. They knew they weren't alone, and they knew they could defend themselves. In orbit, the Black Armada maintained constant vigilance. Some ships rotated back to Earth for rest and repair. Others took their place. The watch never ended. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, looking at Earth below. Maria Santos joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee.